Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Lexi and today we're doing another pick a card. Today's pick a card, we're taking a look at what would people ask if they could ask a question about you. Like, what do people wonder about? What are people curious about? If somebody could put into like a search engine whatever question they wanted to ask about you and they know they'd get the correct answer back, what is it that they'd want to know? What sauce would they want to find out? That's today's video. Before I get into the piles, I just want to say I've been a little bit slow. I took a week out around my birthday week. Thank you all for the birthday messages, by the way. I really appreciate it. But yeah, I took a week out and I've been super busy this week, so I aim to get 2 videos up this week, but if it just ends up being the one, I will be back next week. I do have a psychic reading that I filmed 2 weeks ago waiting, so I'll probably get that up this week as well. But yeah, let's get into your piles. So pile number 1, we have, I'll get it up close actually so you can see, it's the cinema roll keyring. So also got a little rabbit on there. Let me get that to focus. That's pile number 1. And then pile number, I'm making a mess of that, you can see it anyway. Pile number 2, I'm not going to move her because she'll fall over. It's a unicorn. It actually fell off my carousel and I thought, not a unicorn, a horse, I don't know what I'm talking about. It fell off the carousel and I thought I'd use her as a prop until I glue her back on. So we've got the horse for pile 2 from the merry-go-round. Pile 3 we have the Hello Kitty clip, and pile number 4 we have the lipstick. So see which object you're drawn to. The timestamps are going to be in the description box as usual, and I will see you guys at your timestamps. Hey pile 1, welcome to your reading. So we are taking a look at what are people curious about when it comes to you. What would people want to know about you? So pile number 1, please spirit guides, tap me into the collective of my pile number 1s. Straight away I'm being shown an image of a tree, and when we think of trees, they've been here a long time. They have a lot of wisdom, you know, they have a lot of wisdom. If you've ever connected with like tree spirits, lots and lots of wisdom. And I do feel that you guys, some of you guys come across as very intellectual, but then some of you guys, I feel like you have a lot of knowledge on maybe a specific topic or a specific subject, or maybe you guys are just very old souls. People would want to know kind of like where you got it from, how did you attain that knowledge. That's the first thing that I'm being shown, like, where do you get this? I'm almost being shown like a fountain of like knowledge, and it's like, well, where's the fountain? Like, I feel like people would want to know, like, if you studied something, it's like, why did you study that? Why did you learn that? Or if it's like more spiritual knowledge and it's just something you've attained, you know, obtained through channeling and connecting with spirit, or just through life lessons, they might not understand that, so they'd be like, well, how do you know this? Where did you get this from? How do you have that outlook? Spirit guides, what are people curious about when it comes to my pile number 1s? If people could ask a question about my pile number 1s, what would they ask? 4 of Pentacles, 6 of Cups. What would people ask about my pile number 1s, please, spirit guides? We have the 5 of Swords. Pile number 1, please, spirit guides. We have the 10 of Wands and we have the 3 of Swords. Okay, and the back of the deck you have the Magician. Okay, the first thing that I'm hearing as well, and what's coming through these cards, I do feel like you, I don't know if you're someone that kind of grows out of people quite a bit, or if you're someone that maybe like goes, because I don't know why I'm thinking of like side quests. So I'm thinking of like a bunch of people going out into the world, and then 1 or 2 of them kind of like head off to the right and end up doing something completely different. So the way I'm being shown that is in the sense of, I almost feel like you may be that person, or you may have been that person where you've been more focused on doing things on your own, or maybe you've been somebody that has just grown and evolved quite rapidly throughout life, that you've kind of outgrown other people, because I'm being shown frequencies changing and shifting. So with that being said, because I'm being shown the pattern of the Red Sea for some reason, I'm being shown like the water just separating. So I feel like a lot of people would have questions where they might have internalized your absence, or where they might have internalized just you go in a different way. I'm being shown like if you've like been the one to call off relationships or step away from friendships, I feel like people would want to know like, why did this happen, or you know, why did they walk away? Because I feel like you might have, again, outgrown people, or stepped away, or even cut off from people, you know. And I feel like for some reason it's coming through strongly with you guys' pile, where it's like, I feel like I would want to ask questions on like why you did that, or what was your motive behind that, because I feel like I've internalized something maybe even more than what it was supposed to be. Like maybe you were just someone that didn't want to go out and party anymore if your friends were partying, but they might have taken it like, oh well, they must not like me, they don't want to be around me. And it was never that. It was maybe more the circumstance. But then for others of you, you may have literally just cut people off. You may have just been like, I'm not interested in this, like I'm walking away, I don't like the way, you know, you're treating me, you're walking away. But there's something about like a clouded judgment where it's almost like I'm not seeing something clearly. And I do feel there's quite a few people from your past that would want to know, well, why did you step away? What are your feelings now? What was your motive for doing that? Because I just keep feeling like you're somebody, and we've got the Magician at the back of the deck. I feel like you're alchemists, and especially with what I was being shown at the beginning with the tree and that wisdom. To attain wisdom like that, we have to really look at it from different sides of the coin, and to see something from different sides of the coin, we have to experience that. So we have to shift frequencies to be able to see from every single avenue. So there's something here about you guys growing and evolving. It's making me think of you know, sometimes I talk about people like they're my Dumbledore pile or my Gandalf pile, where they're quite, you know, they're full of wisdom, and then they kind of go off and kind of like come back, and it's like, where did they go? Like I feel like you're that type of person, because I keep hearing side quests. I don't know what that's about. I feel like you shift and evolve a lot, and I think it leaves people, and maybe more than you realize, I think it leaves people with like, are they okay? Like, do they like me? What was their reasoning for this? And sometimes when we don't have like a full explanation, or even sometimes we can have an explanation of it, someone's given us an explanation on what they're doing, we can still sometimes as humans internalize it like, oh well, they don't want to be around me, they don't like that. And I feel like there would be quite a few people asking the questions of like, what happened, or what did I do, or how do they actually feel about me, or you know, there's a lot of that. And I don't think you would be like super aware of that, in terms of like people might have had like a hit to their ego, or it might have like triggered like an abandonment wound for people, or they could have just got in their head like, what did I do, and festered over it. Because I do feel quite a few people would want to ask that, well, like, what happened, why did you do that? You could literally be someone as well, like if you're going through a hard time, or you're going through, you know, a really deep transformative stage, you may be one of those people that's just like, I need time out, I need to pull back. And maybe sometimes people didn't quite get that. So I feel like people would want to know the question, but I feel like they'd look at it through the lens of, what did I do, or like, how do they actually feel about me, or you know, was there any ill intent here? It's that sort of thing. That's what I'm being shown. Yeah, 10 of Wands, 3 of Swords. I do feel you've got people from your past that would like want to know if like you still think of them, or if there would be like a chance, or you know, is there still feelings there, sort of thing. Because I feel like when you are in people's life, I feel like you give a lot. I feel like you're very passionate, and I want to say compassionate as well. So I feel like you're quite loving, and I think when you pull back, there's like a coldness. I feel like you're somebody that's very all in or nothing. So I feel like when you have pulled back, it's like, oh, like I think people really feel it. And especially if people have never experienced the cold version of you. I want to say cold, I don't mean you guys being mean, I just mean it in the sense of, you know, you could be somebody that just keeps your emotions like to yourself, and hold your emotions closely, and it, you know, are very careful about what you're putting out there. But I think if people have only ever experienced that loving kind of compassionate side, when you do detach, I think people really feel that like shake up. And I think that there's for some maybe it's a little egoic, but I feel like there would be those questions of like, do they still think about me? Because it's like a validation of like, oh, you still think about me, that sort of thing. Because I feel like when you go cold, you go cold, and I think that's a lot of what's coming through here with this reading. But if you have had like breakups and you have like left relationships, and I feel like people do kind of like ponder on that, and I feel like they'd want to know, like, do they still think of me? Do they still look at my social media, that sort of thing? Yeah, like I feel like people would ponder about that, because when you go, I just feel like when you go cold, you go cold. I feel like you're very, very loving and open, but when you detach, you detach, because you're a very warm person. So it's like when the sun goes away, you know. Anything else, please, spirit guides? What would people ask about my pile number ones? What would people want to know? I feel like I'm taking somebody's glasses off of their eyes. I was gonna say head. I'm taking somebody's glasses off their eyes, their head. I don't know what the right term for that is. For some reason, I don't know. My brain's gone blank. And I'm like, you know, when you look through somebody else's glasses and it's like, wow, you see the world this way. Like, are you like, oh my god, these glasses are so blurry on me, but they work for you. Like, I feel like I'm doing that, and I feel like people would want to kind of like look at life, like the day in the lives of you. Like, how do you look at life, and how did you look at it from that perspective? How did you get that outcome? Yeah, like if you guys like work with spirit, it could be like, well, how did you read that from the cards, or how did you read that from the runes, or, you know, how did you get that, you know what I mean, or how did that gift break for you? Like I feel like people would want to know a lot of that, because I feel like some of you, I feel like a lot of you guys are quite connected to spirit, so I feel like I want to know how you got to that answer. Like, how did you get that, you know? But it doesn't have to be just from the spiritual side. I just feel like if there's something, you know, that you're very knowledgeable with, like there's something, you know, that you're really good at, I feel like people maybe even in the same field would want to know, well, how did you get that answer? Like, how did you do that, you know? We have the King of Wands, the Knight of Swords. If people could ask a question about my pile ones, please, spirit guides, what would they ask? If people could ask a question about my pile ones, please, spirit guides, what would they ask? Page of Pentacles. Queen of Wands. And the back of the deck is the Six of Swords. Okay. Knight of Wands, Knight of Swords. Do you know, like I said, you guys have shaken up quite a bit. I feel like you've grown a little, you know, quite a bit, and evolved a lot. I feel like I'd want to ask the questions, how the hell did you get from red to blue to green to yellow? I don't know why, I feel like a lot of you guys may have gone through quite a big transformation in this life. So it's like, it could be energetically, it could be with your looks as well, you know, it could have mirrored that way. But, you know, sometimes when you see someone that's like been on a TV show or whatever, and it's like, remember this person, this is them now, do you feel old yet? Like that sort of thing. Like, I feel like I'd have that kind of double take, like, how did you do that and that? You know, when you see like an actor and they're in different movies, and it's like, how could you play Willy Wonka but also, you know, this crime fighting, whatever it is, like, you would, like, how do you have that range? Like, I feel that, so I'd ask the question of like, how did you get from red to blue to green? How did you do that? That's like 3 different ways of, you know, how did you shift? I feel like there would be like questions asked there, like, how are they doing this? How did they do this? Like, how did that shift happen? How did they make that shift? There would be a lot of that, I feel. There's something as well about like you being quite breezy in the sense of, how do I put this into words, please, spirit guides? Like, I feel like I'm watching you, and I feel like I'm very cautious of like, I've got to do this, then I've got to do this, and I've got to achieve this. Whereas you, I feel like I'm looking at you, and this may not be the case, but it's the way I'm looking at you. I feel like you're kind of breezing and you're moving nice and slowly, but things just still work out for you. But you keep like, you've hit that you know, wrong turn, you've got, you know, you're on the snakes and ladders board, you've gone all the way down to the bottom, and I'm panicking, and I'm on like the 5th, you know, floor at this point. Like I'm quite close to the end game, and I haven't gone down a snake yet, and I'm still panicking. But yet you've just gone all the way down to the bottom on that big snake. You're still breezing, like you're still kind of just like, it'll work itself out, it'll work itself out. So I kind of want to ask like how, and like how are you do, like I feel perplexed, but I feel like I don't think people would know how to word the question of like how did you get out of that unscathed, or how did you, and maybe you didn't even get out of it unscathed, maybe that's how you got the wisdom. Because I feel like it's quite easy to see, but I feel like people, there's like a clouded energy where it's like, how are you so full of wisdom, and how did you get out of that unscathed? And it's like, they didn't get out of that unscathed. They found the medicine, they found the gold in falling down the snake, and that's how they got the wisdom. So it's like, they might even ask 3 questions, and 2 of them answer, like one of them answers the other question, but they wouldn't realize it. You know what I mean? It's like, there's like a clouded kind of like judgment. Because I feel like I'm looking at you and I'm like, why are you so calm? How are you so chill? Like, you haven't got this, and this yet. How are you so like? And it's like, I feel like I'm asking that, and I'm kind of curious, like, but I don't know what I would word the question. It's just like a curiosity of like, you're just kind of like singing in the rain when I'm running to get dry, but you're just you're just running around in the rain and you have no problem, and I'm running, you know, to get dry and get it all off me, and you're just taking it in. Like, what is going, like, why you know what I mean? Like, that's why I feel like people want to look at life through your eyes. I feel like people be like, let me look through their eyes for a second so I can see what type of mechanics are going on. You know, I feel like people would ask that. So let's pull your oracle card. Pile number 1, please, spirit guides. What would people ask about my pile number 1s if they could? What would people ask about my pile number 1s? We have the nurturer. On the back of the deck, you have time. Why do we have the nurturer, please, spirit guides? Why do we have... I feel like sometimes people feel very contradicted, like their opinions contradict themselves in terms of you. Like, I feel like sometimes people be like, that's the most loving person in the world, and it's like, they went really cold, they're mean. But it's like, well, they can't be mean because they do all of these good things. And then it's like, I'm contradicting and I'm kind of confused. And I feel like I kind of want to understand your personality, or understand you a little bit more. Like, I feel like I just want to look at life through your eyes. Like, because I keep going back to what I was being shown, where it's like, has that person forgot about me? Like, that person's in a completely different life now. Do they not think of me anymore? And it's like, are they really cold? You know, like, because I've projected onto them that they're pretty cold because they cut off from me. But when I was around them, they were really loving, and I can see that they're really loving now. What was that about? Like, I feel like I have multiple opinions of you. Like, one minute I'm like, oh, soft and naive, and then the next minute I'm like, no, they're really smart and cold. Like, and I feel like I'd want an answer, like, who are you? I feel like you'd have the most complex questions asked about you, pal one, because I feel like you leave like a smudge, like a fog, in terms of like, who are they, what do they do? Because I feel like you're just a lot of things. I feel like you've grown a lot. I feel like you've seen life through different perspectives. I feel like you make room for a lot of different aspects of your personality, whether it's your darker side, your lighter side. I feel like you live in both. I feel like you know, allow certain emotions and you know, movements to flow out. And I think that you don't limit yourself, which is why I think I was being shown that tree, because you grow a lot. I don't think you limit yourself very much. I think you just allow yourself to grow and look at things from different points of view, and you allow the new piece of information to contradict the old piece of information, because it's like, well, maybe I need to learn it through this lens now. It wasn't that I was wrong before, but now I need to look at it through this way. And I think people being bystanders may be like, they looked at it in red and now they're looking at it in blue. And it's like, yeah, exactly. They looked at it in red. Now they're looking at it in blue. So now they have a view of it from a purple lens. You know what I mean? Whereas other people would be like, but how did they go from red to blue? And why did they do that? If they were looking at it from red, why did they go to blue? And it's like, to look at it from a bigger perspective. I think people kind of get confused there. When you grow and evolve and add different aspects. Like, yes, 6 months ago I was feeling this way, but now I feel this way. We shouldn't limit the information, sort of thing. And I think that's where there may be a fog, because I think when people may put a box on you, I think this is you, I think you shift from it. And I think that's where people are like, what, You know what I mean? And I think when you shift from it, you may find your frequencies change and you may outgrow a situation. You know what I mean? Yeah, so pile number 1, that is what I have for you guys. I really hope that you enjoyed your reading. Hit the thumbs up and comment down below if you did. I'm sending you guys all of my love. I hope you have a beautiful morning, afternoon, evening, whenever you're watching, and hopefully I'll see you guys in my next video. So thank you guys for watching. Hey pile 2, welcome to your reading. So we are taking a look at, if people could ask a question about you, what would they ask? If people, you know, were curious about you, what would they be asking? If people could type in a question into the internet and get the right answer about you, what would they want to know? So you guys chose the horse that I keep calling a unicorn. I'm going to start with tarot and then we'll move on to your oracle cards. So pile number 2, please, spirit guides. Pile 2. If people could ask a question about my pile number 2s, what would they ask? First thing I just heard, why are you so happy? Why are you so happy? We have the moon. I feel like you guys are quite optimistic. Or at least you come across that way. Because it's like, how? I feel confused as to how you're so happy. We have the Hierophant. If people can ask a question about my pile number 2s, what would they ask? We have the 8 of Wands. I'm going to do one more because I think I did that for pile 1. If people could ask a question, please, spirit guides, about my pile number 2s, what would they ask? Knight of Cups. Okay, and the back of the deck you have the Knight of Wands. Okay, the Moon, Ace of... I do feel people... like, I feel like I'm looking at you and I feel like there's more to the story. Now, this could literally just be people just being kind of like, maybe a little bit pessimistic. Like, you can't be that happy, or you can't be, you know, bouncing back that fast. Like, I feel like there's something I'm not seeing that I'm kind of inquisitive about, in terms of you. And I feel like they'd be right in terms of there's more to you. But I feel like that's because there's space where there's no explanation. I think this is where people project. So let me explain. I think that you come across as somebody that is, I'm hearing like, you're very charismatic, you may be very larger than life, or it could just be your energy, just your aura giving that off. I think that you're somebody that has a very sweet, like, innocence in terms of, like, your presence. I think that you're very optimistic. There's this feeling of, like, I can find the silver lining, right? It's okay, like, it's fine, let's just grow, let's just evolve from this. Like, I'm not gonna get stuck on it. I'm not, like, there's almost like a forgiving aspect that I'm being shown from you. There's like a lot of grace, I think, that you show people. And I think that I see somebody smiling, which is just making me think, like, at least my projection of it is that, oh, this person's like, I wouldn't even say like happy. I just feel like this person's quite happy-go-lucky. Like, that's how I feel other people kind of like view you, right? That you're very happy-go-lucky, maybe very creative, very ambitious and like passionate and like happy. Like, that's how I feel, right? But I keep feeling like there's more to the story. Like, there's definitely more to the story here. Like, there's things kind of hidden. And I do think that that's true with the Moon card, especially leading the reading. I think you're much more than that. I think that the reason that you are so open and loving and, you know, the way that you hold space for people, I think the reason that you're like that is because I feel like you've seen quite a bit of darkness and you've seen, you know, a lot of chaos. Or maybe you've gone through a lot of transformations where, you know, you've really met darker parts of yourself. So I feel like you choose to extend light. You choose to see light in people. You choose to see the good in people. I feel like you choose to do that. Whereas I feel like from other people's perspective, I feel like the question that they'd ask is like, why are they like that happy? Like, what is their, like, what is the reason for this? And I think because of that curiosity, and like I said, they'd have no explanation, so there'd be like a blank canvas of like what is hidden. I think people would be able to feel like there's more to you, like I'm just seeing the tip of the iceberg. But because they're not able to see the rest of the iceberg, I think that they'd come to their own conclusions. And if they were somebody that was very pessimistic, or somebody that was very judgy, or somebody that was very, you know, they might have moved in some darker ways or whatever, they may project that you move that way. And I think that they'd ask questions through their own perception, like, does this person, you know, talk about me behind my back? Or does this person even like me? Does this person, you know, is this person lying about this, this, and this? Like, I feel like there'd be a suspicion from some people. And then I think others, I think people would just want to know, kind of like, tap me into that more. Tap me into that more. Like, I feel like I want to know more of your story. Like I feel like I'm watching you in certain scenarios. So maybe I'm watching you around other people. I'm watching you forgive someone. I'm watching you give grace. I'm watching you maybe even stand up for yourself, or choose like the you know, a path where it's like, it's okay, I'm moving on, I'm not going to get revenge, whatever it is. Like, I just want peace. Like, I just want to, you know, reach this inner peace. I think a lot of people would have those kind of questions of like, why? Like, what are you gaining from that? And why are you not battling back? I feel like I'm watching people bait you. You're not battling them. You're just kind of moving on. And I feel like I want to know why. Like, I feel like I'm like, why though? Why are you moving that way? Like, what is your inner, like, I want to look at your inner compass. I want to look at your inner rule book. I want to look at your inner kind of like morals and see why you move in ways that you do. Like, why did you forgive that person? Why didn't you go off on that person? Why did you move that way? Like, I want to know why. And I feel like you guys are someone that's been through a lot. Like, I feel like you guys are people that have experienced a lot of darkness. And I think maybe even people would know, this person's gone through this person's gone through that. And I feel like people would want to know, because I feel like I want to know how you really feel about something. I really want to, because this is what I think that you do. I think when you experience something heavy, I think that you go within and I think you really feel it. And I think all of that darkness and all of that hurt or upset or grief, I think that you feel it, you give way to it, you hold space for it. And then I think you allow it to pass through. I think you gain the wisdom and then you move forward, having put it to bed. So when other people then see you, they're just seeing their, I've put it to bed version. And they're like, well, there's more. And there is more. You've just felt some really deep emotions. You've just really transmuted some heavy things. You've just really overcome a bit of a battle in the darkness when no one kind of saw you, right? But they didn't see that. So then you, again, like I said, you have the people that, you know, may look at that from a pessimistic way of like, are they faking being happy? Are they faking this? Are they faking that? But I think you have the other people like, what happened? Like, you know, how did they really feel about that? And I think, you know, it's true that you may have that inner peace, then you may be able to walk away, you know, you might not care anymore, you might have just evolved and be able to overlook it. But it's also true that at a point you did feel anger, or you did feel frustration, or you did feel hurt, or you did feel upset, but it passed. You allowed yourself to feel it, you didn't simmer in it, you transmuted it, you know, you were able to like move on and evolve from it. And I think there's a level then of compassion, because I'm looking at like the Hierophant, and the way that you were able, the Eight of Wands, the way you're able to deal with it, transmute it, feel it. You know, when we feel something, we transmute it. So there's that shift. And then I see with the Knight of Cups, then you're able to bring medicine to other people from what you've just learned. I think that you're able to look at it with a level of compassion, or you're able to move forward with a different set of wisdom. And I think that's where people are like, okay, I'm seeing the wisdom and I'm seeing the way that you're moving, but I'm sure there's more to it than that. How did you really feel? And it's almost like it's not that they're hiding or burying it. I think they dealt with it, well, you guys being they, I think they dealt with it behind closed doors. But I feel like people would want to ask that question, like, how did they really feel about that? Or are they as happy as what they're saying, you know, as what they say and they are? Or do they really look at life that optimistic? And I think it's true, but I think the duality of when you may look at life from a pessimistic way, or you may go through, you know, certain heavy feelings and certain heavy emotions, I think that you deal with them. I think you work through them. I think you honor them. And that's what brings you to be able to choose to look at it from a higher perspective. Because it's like when we go through an ego death and we go through the void, like a lot of people get stuck in that for a while. And they're like, when is this change coming? And they forget that they're the ones making the change. Because when we're in a void, any sort of void, creation is made through the void. Through the void we create something new. We transmute, everything dies off, and then we create through that void. You know what I mean? We're the ones that choose, this is how I'm going to move, this is what I'm going to do. We choose that. You know what I mean? We can make those choices, and I feel like you guys choose to look at things from a happier perspective. You choose to look at things from a more optimistic perspective. And I think that people would want to understand that process with you. But I think why I'm not getting a pinpoint in terms of like full-on questions, I think because there's grey area in terms of what you do behind closed doors or what goes on in your own little inner world, because we all have like a universe inside of ourselves. So whatever goes on in that inner world, like in, you know, inside of yourself, I feel like people might not see it, so then they're just left to their own devices. And I think because I'm being shown fairy godmother and she's like bibbly bobbly boo, so I'm like creating a projection of you then from where I see void, from where I can't see beyond what you're showing me. And I think you're quite empathic, because I think you mirror back to people then what it is that they project or what it is that they are, you know, inside. Because how we look at something or how we even take in a piece of information, it's dependent on how we see life. We can, you know, derive the most angry message from something, or we can derive like the most beautiful message from something. It's how we take it in. You know, it's how, whatever we have going on inside of us, that's how we'll take it in, or what frequency we're in, or whatever it is, that's how we'll take it in. And I think that sometimes you show up with this beautiful light, and then I think where people can't see beyond the light, I think they'll project whatever it is that they've got going on. And I think that'll be different then in terms of like questions from people, because I think they'd have a different idea of you, so their questions would really vary. Especially if they've really created an idea of you that would fit what they'd want. I think the questions would kind of shift. But I do feel you've had people like, I'm sure they're sly, like they're not showing me the whole thing. I think they're doing things, you know, behind closed doors. I think that's a facade. Whereas I think other people are like, how do they really feel about that? Are they really okay? Like, I feel like people would ask kind of questions there if they were very like caring about you. Or I think people would be like, how do they get through that? How do they work through that? Are they, is it really sorted? Like, you know, are they okay? I feel like there's a lot of, are you okay? How are you so happy? How did you get through that? There's a lot of that I'm picking up on. So let's pull some more. Pile number 2. If people could ask questions about my pile number 2s, what would they ask? If people could ask questions about my pile number 2s, what would they ask? We have the 5 of Cups. If people could ask questions about my pile number 2s, what would they ask? We have the Page of Pentacles. We have the 2 of Wands. I feel like people would come to you for advice too. So I feel like people would ask questions like, because I'm hearing philosophy. We've got the 3 of Cups at the back of the deck. I'm hearing philosophy. I think people would want to know, you'd be the type to be on those like agony aunt things, you know, like when you have like a magazine or like, and I say you'd be the type, I think other people would want that from you. Like, you know, you see people and they're like an agony aunt, or it's like ask Sarah, and then they like give you advice. I don't know why. I feel like some people would really turn to you like, what should I do with this? I need to look at my life through your, you know, eyes. So like, you know, I've got this problem, how would I solve it? Like, you're almost like a problem solver. I don't think people would ask too many questions about that, because I feel like that's how people kind of view you. So I feel like people might bring their own perspectives to you to like ask questions. I don't know if you're like a therapist or a counselor, maybe you're a psychic, like tarot reader, maybe you're, you know, a counselor or a psychologist, could even be a nurse. But I feel like there's already energies around you like wanting you to help. There's like a problem solving energy here. I'm picking up some Virgo energy from some of you guys. I'm also picking up Cancer as well. But I literally feel like I want to ask your perspective. I want to ask your, like, how do I get out of this? How do I do this? I feel like people would ask questions about themselves for you to help. You know, I feel like, what would they do? I saw like this picture when I was younger, and I used to always post it on my socials at the time, and it was like, what would Tupac do? So I feel like people would be like, what would pile number 2 do? You know, what would they do? Like, I feel like there'd be that for you guys. I'm not gonna lie. I feel like people would want to look at their situation from your eyes and think like, how would they overcome this? How would they do that? I feel like people would ask as well, where do you get your fire from? Like, how do you keep getting back up? Or like, how do you transmute that into fire? Like, how, because I keep looking at you, and that's what I saw from the beginning. I think you're very ambitious. I think you're very fiery. I think you're very passionate. I think you're very creative, you know. There's like a fire within you. So it's like, how are you keeping that lit? How are you so ambitious? How are you keeping that lit? How are you still going? How are you still doing this? How are you still moving like that? Where's this fire coming from? Where's this ambition coming from? And I think people would want to know that. I think people would want to know how you do that, how you bounce back up, what keeps your fire going, how would you keep doing it? Yeah, 100%, because I feel like you're someone that fire still lit. It's making me think of Encanto, when they have that candle that has to stay alight, because that candle was like a magic candle and it gave all of the grandkids gifts and they had to keep it alight. So it's like, how did you even get that candle to work? Like, how is that working? How is that fire happening? How like, I feel like people would want to know how you keep finding like inspiration and how you keep jumping back up. I think the fire is within you. I think it's just part of you, but I think people would want to know. I think people would want to ask that, for sure. So let's take a look at your oracle cards. Pile number 2, please, spirit guides. Pile number 2. What would people ask my pile number 2s if they could? There's something about like horses in general though, not just because you picked that pile, but because I'm very aware. Like, I've got like a horse thing over there, and then I've got my Beyonce cowboy Carter vinyl, and she's on the white horse. Horses are quite prominent, and when you think of horses, they're very free-spirited. They represent freedom. I feel like you're able to kind of like liberate yourself from any sort of chaos and kind of like bounce back. I don't think you get bound to a lot of your, that's the thing, you don't get bound to a lot of your darkness. Like, I think when you go through something, you transmute it. You don't let it become you. You transmute out of it. I feel like you use it to gain fire and momentum moving forward. I feel like you will go through something, and instead of letting it knock you down, I feel like you jump back up. It's like, well, I have to jump back up. Like, I feel that kind of like fire from you. So it's like, I'm not this and I'm not that. Like, it just happened to me, and then I kind of like transmute it out of it. Like, I'm not holding on to that, and I'm not kind of, I'm not letting it keep me down. That's what I feel like. I feel like I'm hearing I've got stamina. I think that was a Sia song. Yeah, it was Sia with Kendrick Lamar. The Greatest. I'm hearing that song. She sings I've Got Stamina. Pile 2. If people can ask a question about my pile 2s, please, what would they? You have the sun. You have the sun. Yeah, I feel like you guys are very, very ambitious. I feel like you're very creative. I feel like you're very, I think you bring such warmth to people. I think that you are optimistic. I think you're able to see things from a higher perspective. I think that you have like a lot of like fire within you, and I think people are, you know, very drawn to that. But where they can't see beyond that fire, I think that's where people can sometimes get confused. And with the reading, you know, leading with the moon, you may have like the luminaries like really strong. Like, you may be like a Cancer sun or Cancer moon, or like a Leo sun, Leo moon, that sort of thing. Or you may have the sun and the moon in your first house. You just may be ruled by them. But I think that you're really here to inspire people to be creative and be passionate and get back up. I feel like you're meant to be that person in this lifetime, but I feel the way that you got that is through going into your darkness and shining light on it. And I think because people then will just, you know, when we see the sun, we see the sun, we see the fireball in the sky, but like, we don't think like that's like a burning star. Like, what was it like beforehand? Like, there's a burning planet, like what was it beforehand? We don't really think of that. It's like, oh, it's the sun. So it's, I think people sometimes don't understand what's behind unless they really get to know you. So the people that don't, they're very curious, and I think that leads to a lot of projection then, you know what I mean, in terms of like what they have going within their own lives and how they really look at life. I think then people can project, and I think that would shift and alter their types of questions. I hope that makes sense. Yours was a little complicated, but we have sacred unity at the back of the deck. I feel like you're a mirror. I feel like you're a mirror. I think you're very empathic. I feel like you're a mirror to others, to be honest with you. Yeah, so that is what I have for you, pile 2. I really hope that you enjoyed your reading. Hit the thumbs up and comment down below if you did. I'm sending you guys all of my love, and hopefully I'll see you guys in my next video. So thank you guys for watching. Hey pile 3, welcome to your reading. So we are taking a look at what would people ask about you if they could. What are people curious about? If they could ask a question about you, what would they ask? So my pile number 3s, please spirit guides, tap me into my pile number 3s. I was going to say tap me into Hello Kitty. Tap me into my pile number 3s, please. Tap me into my pile number 3s, please, spirit guides. If people could ask a question about my pile number 3s, what would they ask? If people could ask a question about my pile number 3s, what would they ask? If people could ask a question about my pile number 3s, what would they ask? We have the Lovers. If people could... Oh, we've got a card that's fallen. We've got the 5 of Swords. If people could ask a question about my pile number 3s, Page of Swords. If people could ask a... Oh, God. If people could ask a question about my pile number 3s, what would they ask? 2 of Swords. One more card, please. And we have the 6 of Cups. No, we don't. We have the 9 of Cups reversed. And the back of the deck, you have the 6 of Swords. Okay. We have the Lovers, the 5 of Swords, the Page of Swords, 2 of Swords, and the 6 of Cups. Okay. What I will say about you guys is I do feel like you may deal with people that mirror you a little bit, or people that may mimic you at times. I think that you're somebody that is very... I feel like I'm looking at you and I feel like you have everything together, everything's in place, or you really know what you're doing. Now, you could hear that and go, no, I don't. But this is what other people, I feel like, view you like. I feel like people kind of look at you and it's like, oh, they have all of this together. Or it could even just be your look. You know, you could be someone that's, you know, very, like, you have like an aesthetic, or you know, you do your hair in a certain way. Maybe, you know, you're very high maintenance in terms of your physical body, or how you put things together, your nails, you know, whatever it is, your scents, your perfumes. It could be on social media, it could be to do with your career, where you know, everything's on top of itself. You know, sometimes you look at people and you're like, I think they have it all together. I feel like you do give that off, even if you feel like you don't, because I feel like a lot of people would ask questions, because I feel like I'm looking at you and I'm kind of trying to mirror myself to you. Because it's like, well, they have everything together, so if I do what they do, then I'll get here. So I think people would ask questions like, I feel like I would ask questions in terms of like, how did you get over this, or how did you do this, or like how, you know, when you see like influencers and it's like, what makeup are you wearing, what clothes are you wearing, like what scent are you wearing? Like I even see people and it's, they'll ask like things like, where'd you get that candle from, where'd you get that cup from, where'd you get the bowl from? Like that's how I feel. Like I feel like I'm almost looking at you and I'm kind of like, where'd you get this from, this from, this from? That's kind of what I would feel. I think you're somebody that's quite like, I feel like to look at you, you have things together, or you're like, there's something that you're good at, or something that you have together that I feel like I would ask a lot of questions over. Or it could just be your life. Like you could be somebody that, you know, horse rides or surfs or whatever it is, and it's like, what do they do in their spare time? Like, where can I get, you know, these surfing lessons, or where can I get, you know, this from? Or oh, they custom their own clothes, how do I learn to sew? Like I feel like I would want to ask a lot of questions for my own personal development, but it's like I'm trying to like mirror you because it's like I see you, I feel just in some ways like you're on a bit of a pedestal, but it's like it's good in a way because I feel like you're motivating me. And then it's like, how can I get here? How do I get here? You know, how do I reach that level? And it could as well be like in a specific niche, like you guys could make music, or you guys could, you know, be big on social media, or you guys could have just, you know, started your own business. And it's like, how do they do that? What do they use? What do they do? Like, I feel like I want to ask a lot of questions there. Like, I'm looking at you as like successful in an area, or having everything together in a certain area, or like something I want to achieve. I feel like you've achieved, or you're like the living embodiment of. So I feel like I'm using that kind of then as like motivation. You know, when you have like people on TikTok or Instagram or YouTube, and it's like, wow, that person is like really motivating me where I want to go. I feel like a lot of people would ask questions in terms of that. For some of you guys, though, this really is to do with like your looks, hair, makeup, perfume. It doesn't matter the gender, like take whichever part resonates. But I feel like I want to know like what skincare, you know, what some of you guys may be like beauty gurus or something, because there's a big focus on like, how did you get your skin to look like that, or how did you get your eyebrows to go that shape, or how did you, like, there are questions there I want to know. How did you do that? Did you do this? Did you do that? It could even be where people might be a little bit and be like, did they use an app? Did they use an app to do that? Did they edit it? Did they do this? There could be people asking that. Others, it's just like, how do they do this? What, you know, how did they get it like that? Or how did they manage to get that business off the ground? Or how did they, there's a lot of it. I feel like I'm really looking at you and I'm mirroring myself to you. And I'm like, it's motivating me to get my ass up and go to the gym, because they just posted that gym picture and it's like, wow, they really were dedicated with the goal that they wanted, and now I want to do it. There's a lot of that. So there's a lot, I feel like there'd be a lot of like nitpicking a certain area of like, how do my pal threes do this? How do they do this? And what do they use for this? And how did they achieve this? And what can I do to get to that level? Like, there's a lot of that. Kind of like a mood board sort of thing. Some of you guys could be online. You don't have to be online. When I say online, like, you could have like a following. It doesn't matter if you don't. This could just be people in your hometown, or people that come, you know, come to follow like a, you know, whatever it is that you post and like that. But it could be just in your everyday life. Like, people are like, wow, they have it together. I just saw them come from the gym and now they're doing this. Or I just saw them come off the beach and they just painted that. And, you know, I think that's really cool. I wish I had a hobby like that. Like, it could just be as simple as that as well. Take whichever resonates. There's a bunch of you watching, but I feel like I'm looking to you, and I want to get myself there. Like, I feel maybe like low in myself, or not even low, like I just know I would like to achieve more in that specific, you know, area. So it's like, how do I do that? And, you know, what can I do to achieve that? How can I get there? And I feel like that's why they'd ask questions about you in terms of like, how did they do it? How did they get there? What tools do they use on their hair? You know, where did they buy that from? To kind of like give me a boost. Because sometimes when we see someone that inspires us as well, half the time it's rarely about what it is really that they're doing. It's more so that aura and energy, you know, and how they kind of carry themselves. But sometimes from the human perspective, people don't get, it's an energy, it's an aura, and they'll be like, if I get the red cap that they wore in that photo, I'll feel the exact same way. And then they get the red cap and it's like, well, I don't feel the same way. It doesn't have the effect, because it wasn't the red cap. It was never the red cap, you know. But I feel like people may look to you like that and be like, well, if I get that pair of shoes, or if I get my business off the ground like that, or if I achieve this or have this hobby, or I wake up in the morning like they do, then I will, you know, get there. And I think people would ask questions along those lines. Whereas if I was to zoom out, what they would really need to do, if they felt that way towards you and your energy, they'd need to look within and tailor who they are and what fits them, you know. Because maybe night times are better from them, and they'd have the same achievement as you did from your morning routines, but nighttime works better for them. But they're trying to push against the current. But I feel like sometimes people don't see that, so they'd want to know a lot about how do they get there, how do they, and sometimes it's good as well because it can motivate us. And I think that does happen sometimes. I do think you motivate people. I feel like I'm really mirroring myself to you. Really mirroring myself to you. Pile number Pile number 3. Pile number 3, please, spirit guides. Pile number 3. Oh, I just dropped it. We've got the 5 of Wands reversed. Pile number 3, please, spirit guides. What questions would people ask my pile number 3s if they could? What questions would people ask my pile number 3s if they could? Knight of Wands. What questions would people ask about my pile number 3s if they could? We have the Fool. I don't know if in this life you've started something from scratch, like a business or something like that, or you had a goal that was like really high in the sky and you achieved it from like the bottom, or you did a 360 in terms of like your appearance, because there's something where it's like, wow, you made a shift, or wow, you brought something out of nowhere, like you created from nothing. So it's like I want to do that journey too. I feel like it's sparking change in me. So it's like, well, how did you do that? If you ever wanted to be an influencer, I feel like you'd be really good at it, pile 3. I feel like you'd really inspire people with whatever you were doing. We have the 9 of Swords at the back of the deck. Okay, 5 of Wands, reverse, Knight of Wands, the Fool, the 3 of Cups, the 9 of Swords. Literally, I feel like I'm seeing something that you've done, or you've been doing, or I've heard, you know, you talk about something that you've done. I've gone home, I've gone and bought a brand new notepad and pen. I've made a list of all the things you said you had, and I'm taking it off whenever I get it, because it's like, okay, well, they woke up at this time and they did this and they put their energy into this. So it's like a list, and then I'm like taking it off, like, okay, I need to do this then. Well, I need to wake up early then. Okay, well, I need to do it. Like I'm writing it down, and I'm using it to kind of like motivate me. So a lot of the questions that would be asked about you would be very focused on how people could achieve similar results to whatever it is that they're seeing, that they're inspired by. Even if it's something as little as like you're playing Sims or Animal Crossing and you've achieved a really cool town, or I don't really know much about what you do on Sims, but like on Animal Crossing, let's say then, because it's my area of, you know, expertise, shall we say. How did you get your town like that? Where did you get the pieces from? You know, even if it's as little as that, I feel like whatever it is that you do in life, even if you don't even have a hobby or a creative pursuit right now, you could just go out and buy a certain drink or whatever. I think that you have a keen eye. I think you're creative. I think that you are very authentic, even down to maybe just the way your house looks. The flower pots you have outside your garden, whatever's inside your garden, I think people get inspired by your creativity. I think people get inspired by what you push out into the world. I think that people like that. I think that you're very, your brain's wired a little bit differently. I think you think outside of the box. And I think that when we think outside of the box, we push through a barrier. And when we push through a barrier, we're doing something different. People can be like, oh, how do they do that? And I think that's why people would ask those types of questions about you. And I think that's why people would mirror themselves to you, because it's like, I wouldn't even think to put my energy into that. But you've just created your house like this, and now I'm looking at my house and it's like, oh, you know, I could really fill that with different types of things. I don't know what I was doing, so it's like, I'm inspired now. Where did you get that vase from? Where did you get, you know, that fireplace from? Who fitted that? I'm doing it in that way. I just saw that person in the gym, and you know, what workouts are they doing to be looking like that? Or like, what, you know, equipment did they use? Or, you know, what are they eating? Or what, you know, what outfit did they have on to look like that? Like, I feel like that follows you a lot, and I think you'd have a lot of people asking those type of questions for sure. And I think maybe sometimes that can inspire people, can also maybe trigger people, you know, oh, they did this and I don't feel that way and blah blah blah. You may deal with that sometimes, you know, from people, and that's maybe where you may get the projections of like, oh, they really like this, are they really like this, did they really do it? You may get a few questions like that, you know, did they really achieve that, or were they faking this, did they really win that trophy, did they really start from scratch? You may get a few questions like that. But I think for the most part, I think you inspire people, and I think people would want to know, like I always like to say, the Krabby Patty secret formula. I feel like people want to know your sauce. You know, what sauce did they use? Pile 3. If people could ask questions about my pile 3, what would they ask? We have wise leadership. On the back of the deck, you have fortune. Yeah, I feel like people see you as like, whether you see yourself this way, but it's like they have it all together, they're balling, they're doing well, everything works out for them. I think that's how people look at you. Whether you feel that way about yourself, maybe a different story, but I think that's how people look at you. Oh, they're abundant. They're abundant. How can I be abundant? I bet you it was the blue jeans they were wearing. I'm gonna go buy them. Like, it's that sort of thing. So then it's like, let me type in the question, where did pile 3 get the blue jeans from? You know what I mean? And then it's, they'll think like, oh yeah, I can achieve this because of the blue jeans, when that might not have been the case. I hope that makes sense. Or maybe it was the case. Maybe it was the case. Maybe some people want to know things that you did because it could help them too. Yeah, so with wise leadership, like I said, I just feel like you think outside of the box. I think that you do things your own way. I think you're very unique. Anytime that somebody is unique, they're going to be the shepherd, not the sheep. You know what I mean? Like, when people start to do things in their own way and move, you know, accordingly, they're no longer following a crowd. And when we see people that do that, you know, they're usually leaders a lot of the time. So I feel like people look at you like that. So I feel like you'd be the type to be able to generate a following. So if you ever did want to be like known on social media or build something up for yourself, I think that you would do really well at that. And if you are creating anything from scratch, make sure you copyright it, because I do feel that people might try and mimic you. So make sure you're copyrighting things if you're starting businesses from scratch. Yeah, because you're very creative and you inspire people for sure. So yeah, pile number 3, that is what I have for you. I really hope that you enjoyed your reading. Hit the thumbs up and comment down below if you did. I'm sending you guys all of my love. I hope you have a beautiful morning, afternoon, evening, whatever you're watching, and hopefully I'll see you guys in my next video. So thank you guys for watching. Hey pile 4, welcome to your reading. So we are taking a look at what do people question about you. If people could ask a question about you, what would they want to know? What are they curious about? So you guys chose the lipstick. I'm going to start with tarot and then we'll move on to your oracle cards. So let's get in. So pile number 4, please, spirit guides. Pile 4. What are people curious about when it comes to my pile number 4s, please? What are people curious about when it comes to my pile number 4s? 6 of Wands. What are people curious about when it comes to my pile number 4s? 8 of Cups. I don't know if you used to be more extroverted than you are now, or you used to be more online than you are now, or you used to be more open than the way you are now, because I kind of want to ask where you've gone. I kind of want to know what you're up to these days. Emphasis on these days. What do people question about my pile number 4s, please? 4 of Pentacles. Yeah, I feel like you've retracted your energy, or you've withdrawn your energy. You've become a very private person. Maybe you used to be somebody that was very open, somebody that would just spill your guts and let people know, you know, whatever was going on in your life. Maybe you let people, you know a lot about you. Maybe you were somebody that was just a little bit more out there and extroverted. Maybe you used to be the life of the party. I kind of feel like that's not the case, but it's like I kind of want to know now, like, well, what are you up to? Because I feel like one thing I will say is I feel like this feels like people from your past. When people see you from your past, there's a reference of like the waters are calm when I look at you now. I feel like you're at peace more. I feel like there's a contentment that I feel like I'm viewing from you. There's a different glow. Because I feel like I'm looking at 2 versions of you. So I'm looking at the past and I'm looking at like a jellyfish getting flung around by the sea. Or I feel almost nervous a little bit, but I'm just saying a lot of things. I don't know if you're someone that used to speak fast a lot. There's a change in personality, but I also feel like I don't know what caused this, or like, why did you go? Why, like, I don't think people would want to know, why did you stop coming out? Why did you stop being so online? Why did you stop telling me things? Why did you pull your energy back? I don't think people would ask why. I don't think it's why that people would ask. It's more so, well, what do you do now then? I feel people are curious about like what you're up to now, or do you like the same things as before, or like how do you move now? I feel like you gave me a lot to go off of back in the day, and now I don't have a lot to go off of. So it's like, how, like, I feel like I'm looking for clues. I'm being shown like one of those like little clue magnifying glasses, and I'm looking for clues, maybe on your social media, maybe asking about, but I almost feel like I can't even get access to information. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like I'm talking to you and I feel like I'm pulling teeth. Like, there's things I want to know about, but you're not telling me. So, you know, maybe in the past I didn't need to pick at your brain. You just told me what you felt, or, you know, whatever it, whatever it was, but now you don't. So I kind of feel like, well, what is the situation now? What's going on now? Like, what are you up to? There's a lot of that. I almost feel like before you were like flowing water, I feel like I'm looking at you like a rock, and that's not in a bad way, because one thing that I will say is that I feel like people can see like expansion in your energy. I think that people can see, because I'm looking at a garden that's very beautiful, so it's like you put time into it, so I feel like your energy is going in the right places. And I'm aware of that, but it's kind of like, I'm not, there's not a lot of questions on why. It's more so like, what are you, like, what type of person are you now? I don't know if you just outgrew a bunch of people and moved on, or maybe you just pulled back your energy, or maybe you used to be somebody that was just so open with everyone, colleagues and stuff, and now you're just not. Because it's almost like you used to be more open, but now you're not. So it's like, what type of person are you now? I feel like I'd want to ask questions about your personality. I feel like I'd want to ask you questions about, like, even your stance on the world, and things that I would have known in the past, but I feel like they would have shifted now. Like, what goes on? Like, tap me deeper into this, please, Spirit Guides. 6 of Wands, 8 of Cups, the 10 of Cups. There's like a song, and I can't remember what it is, but they say, are you happy now? And I'm sure they say in a foreign place or something place, are you happy now? And I'm sure it was like a DJ type of song, so there was like a beat over it. And I can't remember, I don't know if it was Clean Bandit or whoever it was. I'm sure they said in a foreign place, are you happy now? But I am known to butcher lyrics, so I wouldn't trust that it's a foreign place, but I could be right. Let me know in the comments down below if you know the song I'm referencing. But there's like a bit of sweetness, and it's like, well, what are they up to now? How are they now? Like, I don't even think people would know what to ask. I feel like I'm observing you. Like, my mind's genuinely going blank, but I have a magnifying glass, and it's like, well, what are you up to now? Who are you talking to now? Like, this could be like an ex that you have, and it's like, who are you talking to now? Who are you with now? Are you in a, like, I feel like I don't know fundamental things, so it's like, are you in a relationship or not? Because you used to put that on social media, but now you don't, so I don't know if you're in a relationship or not anymore. You're not putting anything up, so I really don't know. Or are you still friends with that person? You literally don't post anything like that now, or I barely see you, you know, anymore, so it's like, I don't even know if you're still friends with that person. Before, I would have known, there would have been quotes on social media, or maybe you would have just told me outright, but now you don't. So it's like, are you friends with that person? Like, there's like little clues and assumptions I feel people would have, like, do you still have that car? Like, you know, how's the career going? You know, are you still living in this house? Did you move? Are you still living with this person? Did you move? I feel like people would ask a lot of questions like that, kind of like personal questions, but things you would have been open with back in the day. Are you in a relationship? Are you talking to someone? Are you talking to anyone? Would you even tell me if you were? Like, there's a lot of that. A lot of that. I have no answers, so I don't really know what to ask. I'm just kind of asking anything. Do you still have your dog? You know, is your dog still around? Like, you know, do you still have that thing I gave you? Like, do you still are you still quite grunge, or have you, you know, do you still like that type of music? Like, there's a lot of that I think people would ask. I feel like people would want to kind of like know who you are now. I feel like you've retracted for sure. And I think you may even like not, because I feel like someone's asking you a question and it's like, in the past you wouldn't have thought anything to just tell everyone every detail, and now you're just like, oh, you know, like vague answer, because it's like, well, I don't, from your perspective, I'm looking at it like, I really don't need to tell you that. Like, I don't need to tell you that, you know, knowledge is power. I don't need to tell you that. But I feel like back in the day, it would have just been like, oh, let me just tell you. I think you're a bit more cautious. I think, do you know what I will say as well? Your frequency feels like it's shifted from being, and there's no frequency that's better than the other, by the way, but it's like, if you tap into the different realms on Earth, you tap into like the fairy realm, the fae, you know, you tap into the stone people, the dragons, their frequencies are so different, right? So when you tap into the fae, if you connect with them, or you connect with, you know, tree nymphs or anything like that, the frequency is like da 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 da. Like when they talk, it's like da 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 da, and it all comes out. Whereas when you connect with like the stone people, and it's fine if you don't believe in any of this, by the way, but when you connect with them, they move slow. The messages they bring are like so slow and to the point. It's so grounded. You feel very grounded, but I feel like you used to be more da 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 da. Now you feel very rooted, very grounded. Some of you guys may have been doing work on your lower chakras to get yourself there, but you feel very rooted, very grounded, very present. I feel like your demeanor has changed. You know, your whole demeanor has changed, and I think that's where I think people are aware of this. But it's like before, you'd be like, da, 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 here's what's going on, but I'm not getting that same thing. So it's like, oh, like, you know, I've got all these questions now, and before I wouldn't even have to ask them; they would just be answered. But now I have all these questions, so those questions would be, you know, I think they'd be kind of like personal. Like, are you in a relationship? Are you not? Are you still in that house, or are you not? How's your business going? Is it doing well? Is it not? Have you shifted? What's going on? I don't know. Lots of curious questions like that, I feel, would come through from people. Pile. And if you think about it, the lipstick's in a case. You know, the lipstick isn't just out and open. It's in a case. It's sealed. There's like a shell. And I don't feel like you're in a shell in like a bad way. I think you've learned to pull your energy back where it doesn't need to be. I think that you've learned boundaries. I think that you've learned, I see somebody settling into that route, to be honest. So I think you've learned to really ground your energy, and be very mindful, very demure, and very cutesy. 9 of Pentacles, 3 of Wands, and the back of the deck we have the 8 of Swords. Okay, 2 of Pentacles, the Death, 9 of Pentacles, the Death, Death, 9 of Pentacles, and the 3 of Wands. I do feel like there's a bit of a barrier up, like you're not accessible the way you used to be. I think some people would ask, why haven't I got a key? You know what I mean? Like, why am I shut out? Why aren't you telling me information you used to tell me? I think some people might, you know, feel that way. Why haven't I got the key? Why aren't you telling me certain things? I feel like some people would ask that. I feel like I'm observing you more. Before I didn't have to observe you. You just kind of shun, if that makes sense. But now I feel like I have to really observe and dig a little bit. 2 of Pentacles and Death. You've definitely pulled away from people, but I think you've really gone from one extreme to the other. But I think that you've really gone inward and had, you know, a transformation in that aspect. The thing is, I think that openness and that fun part of you is still there. It's just like you need a key to get to it. And I think that's where people would ask, why haven't I got a key? Why haven't I got a key? For sure. 9 of Pentacles and the 3 of Wands. Because I'm seeing you, Right, what I'm being shown, imagine like a field and there's like a castle, but there's a fence around the castle. Now, at one point there was no castle there. There wasn't even a fence, and you were building and you were going, right guys, I'm building this and I'm building this and I'm building this, and everyone was just walking past like, oh, okay, they're building this, and oh, it fell down. Oh, like people knew, right? Then you decided, right, I'm going to put a fence up. So you put a fence up and people were like, oh, I wonder what they're doing. I wonder what they're doing. And they could hear noises behind the fence, but next minute this castle starts to grow. This castle is growing. It's getting big, right? And they're like, oh my God, I guess they're building a castle. Are they using the same materials as before? Who's moving into that castle? How? It's like I can't see because I'm behind the fence. I'm aware because, you know, you're looking happy when you're coming out from behind that fence, and, you know, you seem good, and I'm asking if everything's okay, and I'm expecting you to say, yeah, I'm building this and I'm doing all these things, but you're not. You're just saying, yeah, I'm good. And then you're going back in, and then the castle's just getting bigger and bigger. So it's like, I know that there's a castle being built. I know that there's a level of happiness or a level of inner peace that you've been able to achieve here. I know that things are going good, but it's like, how did you get there, and who's around, and who's benefiting from it, and who's got the key to behind that fence? I don't know. I'm stood behind this fence. And that's where the questions then would be, what materials did they use? Are the plans still going ahead as before? Were they, you know, are they still building this? And I think that you've removed access to a lot of people. And I think people are aware of that. There's like a privacy, there's like a level of protection here. But I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing, because the Nine of Pentacles is growing with the Three of Wands. We've got the Wheel of Fortune behind it. Like, I think that your energy is going where it needs to. I think you've cut ties with where your energy was going. I think that sometimes moving in secrecy, or even not just secrecy, moving, you know, off your own accord and not letting everybody know every single detail, I think sometimes that can be good. Because I see that people are behind that fence with you, so I know that you're sharing your energy with people that you've probably seen, you felt deemed fit to know. So it doesn't feel like you're, you know, purely isolating yourself. It's more like a need to know sort of thing. But that's where people would ask, what are you up to now? Who are you with now? I keep hearing the Weeknd song Wasted Times, where he sings, who do you belong to now? Who you getting sprung for now? Who you pulling up on? So there may be somebody from the past that's wondering if you're in a relationship or not. Maybe you used to post it all the time and now you don't. So it's like, are they in a relationship or are they not? Are they talking to someone or are they not? Do they have someone or not? I'm asking those kind of questions. So you have ambition as your card. And the back of the deck you have creative spark. Excuse my nose, by the way. I've got allergies. I think it's hay fever, I'm not sure. So excuse that, you know, if I sound, you know, bunged up or something. But yeah, ambition. Why do we have ambition? Please, spirit guides. I just feel like your head's down, you focus on your goals. You know when people go quiet and then they achieve their goals? People get their head down, they go to the gym. People get their head down, they start working on themselves. I think that's what you've done. And I don't think too many people would ask questions about why. I think people would understand 100% why. Especially if people have seen you being taken advantage of, or people have seen you be hurt, or, you know, whatever it was. I feel like there's a kind of understanding here of people that would know you are like, no, I get why. I completely get why. It's just, I want to know now, like, who's around? Who are they with? You know, who's behind the fence? What are they actually up to? I get why they put, you know, maybe you put your social medias on private. Maybe that's the fence I'm being shown. I don't know. Maybe you deleted social media. That's the fence I'm being shown. I don't know. Maybe you've been selective about what you post on social media. Maybe that's the fence. But yeah, there's like a curiosity for sure. But you've got your head down and you've created something. That castle and, you know, the Nine of Pentacles coming through. This is something you've built up since. So people know you're good. There's something you've done since. Pulling your energy back, and it could just be your energy. They'll seem really happy now that, you know, they're really at peace. Yeah, because I'm trying to get a good look at, it's like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and, you know, they knew that chocolate was made, but it's like, how? Who is in there? Is Willy Wonka real? We don't know. That's how it feels. So it's like, who's got the golden ticket? That's how it feels. So yeah, pile number 4, that is what I have for you guys. I really hope that you enjoyed your reading. Hit the thumbs up and comment down below if you did. I'm sending you guys all of my love. I hope you have a beautiful morning, afternoon, evening, whenever you're watching. And hopefully I'll see you guys in my next video. So thank you guys for watching.